Okay, so welcome to Monday's lesson, October 10th. This is a little behind, but hopefully if you need it, it is helpful for you. So the materials that you're going to need today are a vocab sheet, the text of the landlady, and your notebook. So let me show you where to find all those things on Google Classroom. So in Classroom, if you go to the About section, you are going to find the landlady materials. And for this story, we have quite a bit. So let me kind of guide you through these materials real quick. At the bottom, we have the landlady text in PDF. You may print this out or you can just read it on your computer. That would be fine. We have the vocab, for which you can make yourself a copy or print it out. When I say make yourself a copy, you know it means go up to File, make copy, so that you have your own that you can write on. And then we're going to need the landlady video if you like to listen to the audio while you read a text. So the landlady audio, I think, adds a nice element to it because it is a bit dramatic with the tone of voice and there is some music in the background, so I think it makes it more interesting. Okay, you also need your notebook, so please pause me now if you need to get these things together. Okay, so today, or Monday, we started off with looking at some examples of the claim statements that were created by students last week in response to this claim about Edgar Allan Poe and how he developed suspense through his main character's point of view in The Telltale Heart. We won't spend any time looking at that on our video though, because we just want to get to the stuff that's due. Okay, have the vocab in front of you. We're starting with the word brisk. Now, pause me, write down this definition. I don't have a picture because, again, copyright, you just never know. And then I'll use brisk in a sentence for you. So pause and write this down. Okay, so brisk means quick, as you can see. So I briskly hand out papers to students, or the ladies walked briskly, or I went for a quick, brisk walk. So that was how you use brisk. Okay, we're going to go on to the word swanky. Pause me, write this down. So swanky, a lot of students are like swag. And yes, swanky is the grown-up way to say swag. I could never get away with saying swag in all seriousness, so I can use the word swanky. So I could say, those pants are swanky, or I have a swanky apartment. Okay, and this word here you pronounce chic, just so you know it's not chick or chic. Facade. I do want you to say facade out loud right now because this one is kind of tempting to say like facade. That's the one I heard a lot today. So facade, pause and write down the definition. Okay, so facade means an outer appearance. And this could be a literal outer appearance where you have the facade of a building. And the facade of a building could look nice, could look kind of run down, or people themselves could have a facade where maybe they're really nice to your face, but it turns out that they're actually not a nice person. So they have this facade of a nice personality, but behind closed doors, they're actually not very nice. Okay, hearth. Go ahead and pause, write down this one word. Okay, pretty easy. So hearth is just another word for fireplace. The example I gave in class was, I wish I had a hearth for my cats to sleep on during the rainy and windy weekend that we had, which is so true, but I do love the rain, so no big deal. Okay, this word I also want you to say out loud, congenial. Congenial. Pause me, write this down. All right, congenial means you are a likable person, or it doesn't necessarily have to do with people all the time. You could have like a congenial Maybe it's like a congenial class. Some students said a congenial room to rent, for example. We are going to be reading The Landlady, which has to do with renting rooms. So I try to be a congenial teacher, and I try to be nice to my students. Oh, dang. Okay, so let me delete that. There we go. So threshold. Threshold means the entrance to a house or a building. Pause me, write it down. Okay, so using threshold in a sentence simply means if you were to walk over a certain point in a building, which would be the entrance, you can cross the threshold. I crossed the threshold to get inside. All right, so this ice cream, bam. Tantalizing. So tantalizing, as you can see, just means to get you interested in something. Okay, after you have this written down, I will say that ice cream that has waffle cones on it or near it does not tantalize me. I don't like waffle cones. You may like waffle cones. A lot of students like waffle cones. But to me, waffle cones are not tantalizing, and that ice cream would look much more tantalizing if it was just by itself. Okay, you can also use the word tantalizing to refer to like your favorite TV show. Maybe the ending of it was tantalizing and you can't wait for next season. Okay, so this one like got a lot of reactions. So I had students ask someone on a date or a friend to the movies by using 3 vocab words in no particular order. So you could do the same thing. You could kind of flip over your vocab sheet and write this on the back. You could maybe ask your mom to make you your favorite meal or something like that using vocab words. Like, Mom, it'd be very congenial of you if you were to briskly, and I won't go on, but you could kind of think of some ways to use those 3 vocab words. Okay, we talked about vocab test retakes, so anytime during the week you can come in during your lunch and bring your old quiz to retake only the words that you missed. So if you missed 2 out of 6, then you would only have to make up those 2 words. So now we're going to get into reading The Landlady by Roald Dahl, and you have that, remember, right here in PDF version. So I simply want you to read this. I do have 2 questions for you to think about after you read it. So open up your text. You can listen to it as you go, and then come back to me. So unpause me once you're ready to look at those 2 questions. So go ahead and pause me and read/listen, and then come back here. All right, now that you've read The Landlady, you know what happens. You know our landlady is not just an ordinary landlady, not at all. So in your notebooks, last week we talked about point of view and perspective, which is pretty much the same thing. So in your notebook, I want you to flip to the point where we take notes on stories, not the front section, but where we took notes on the story like The Monkey's Paw, and you are going to write down these 2 questions. Okay, so for question 1, I want you to remember that our options for point of view are first, second, and third. We're just going to start with those. So revisit your text and figure out, is Roald Dahl using first, second, or third point of view? Now, if you said third, you are correct because he is using he, she, they, them, Billy, landlady. He's not using I, which means that would be first point of view. Okay, so to take this a step further, what we also did is considered whether it was third person omniscient or third person limited omniscient. I don't know, you may have been gone for that lesson, but if you weren't, those 2 phrases, those 2 words should sound familiar to you, but let me remind you. So limited omniscient, let me just create a new slide here. See if I could spell this. I don't think so. Oh, wait, I did. Okay, so limited omniscient means that the narrator, so the person who's telling the story, knows the thoughts and feelings of some characters in the text. Now, if it's just omniscient and we take away the limited, you may have already figured this out. This means that the narrator knows the thoughts and feelings of all characters in the text. So, I want you to take a minute, revisit the text, and figure out if we are in third person omniscient or third person limited omniscient. So just think, do we know the thoughts and feelings of both Billy and the landlady, or do we only know the thoughts and feelings of Billy or the landlady? Okay, so if you said limited omniscient, you are correct because we don't know the thoughts and feelings of our landlady. And we'll talk about the second question here. We talked about that today, so we'll talk about that tomorrow. When I say tomorrow, I mean the next lesson that I'm going to upload. Okay, what we also did is we drew a T-chart and wrote down red flags, which are those moments when the landlady makes you feel like, ooh, like something's not right. She's kind of weird. But we're going to skip that for today. And actually, that is the end. So by this lesson, you should have all your vocab words done. Make sure to fill out that right-hand column on your own. You should have read The Landlady and considered this first question about point of view. Thank you.